The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm about wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by Belly Up Sports Media Network. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined once again by my fellow host, Steve Johnson. Steve, what's good?
Nothing much, man. How about yourself?
You know, just out here, just trying to make it. You know, it was a hump day, so it's all downhill from here for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
But other than that, what's new in your world?
Nothing much, man. Try to see if certain corporations or whatever. Yesterday was April Fool's. Sometimes they throw jokes out there or whatever. But it was for April Fool's Day, it was pretty smooth and regular.
Yeah, when it's April Fool's Day, I try to avoid social media. I try to avoid anything, that may possibly prank me. Matter of fact, one of my best friends, his name's Jack Dash, he posted a video like on social media and he sent it to the group chat showing like him getting married. And I'm like, all right, man, he's trying to April Fool's joke us because it almost looked like AI. But then lo and behold, he really did get married. He eloped like 2 months ago and announced it on April Fool's Day for some reason. I don't know if that's strategic. We've been playing phone tag for like the past couple of days, so hopefully I can get a hold of him and congratulate him over the phone. But yeah, like it's tricky when you post stuff on April Fool's Day. Like you said, a lot of corporations post April Fool's, and I feel like at this point, you kind of know, unless you're like a younger person and not used to it, like maybe like a 10-year-old or even a teenager. But like when I know it's April Fool's, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna ignore everything around me.
I remember my memory of April Fool's. I think it's around before, internet was popular and social media. It was a game called Super Smash, Melee, I believe. And Sonic was was supposedly the character you can unlock and get the I guess cruel melee, kill 10 automated fighters, and you get to unlock them. And it was impossible. There's a few people that claim they've done it, but turned out it was an April Fool's joke in I forgot which gaming magazine. I think it was GameSpot. I can't remember. But ever since then, that was like probably around 2001, I was introduced in corporations will pull a joke on you, and get you riled up to do something impossible in the damn game.
So they tried to make it seem like they're releasing like what was the game? Super Smash Bros. You said?
Yeah. I think it might be as far as April Fool's in the gaming world. I think it's pretty popular. I remember seeing that in a magazine and actually trying it, and I wasn't able to achieve it. And turns out it was an April Fool's joke. I bet people can look that up if they after the show.
I'm gonna have to look that up myself.
It was in the magazine.
You ever remember any other April Fool's joke? Because when I think about it, I've encountered them, but like none of them stick out to me where I can remember any of them off the top of my head.
I feel like that's the same here. I remember some that's happened, but I can't remember, one off the top of my head right now.
Well, Speaking of April Fool's jokes, we usually reserve the news stories for the pay-per-view preview shows, but this is hot off the press. Dana White had a big announcement yesterday, so some people thought it might have been an April Fool's joke, but it wasn't. Some new fights have been booked, I think in June, right around the corner. Not right around the corner, but this year's been going by fast, so it'll be here before you know it. Set for June 7th, UFC 316. Your bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili is in a rematch against Sugar Sean O'Malley, and also the bantamweight women's championship on the line, Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. What were your thoughts when you first heard this news?
Yeah, well, considering Sean O'Malley's last performance, not too excited, but I guess the only thing you can get excited for is him saying he has some type of resurgence and mentality to approach the fight different, because people were upset with him his last fight with him. I think like Merab, he's on top of the world. It's a cakewalk. So that's a good fight. Kayla Harrison, and who else you said again?
The bantamweight women's champion Juliana Pena.
I think that'll be a good fight. I think it's whoever shows dominance and what first. I think if Kayla Harrison gets a hold of I don't know why her name slipped out of my mind again.
Juliana Pena.
I think she can be in trouble. But also, I don't think her hands, as Kayla Harrison, is up to par as we see. And I think, although it's not big at all, I think she may have an advantage of one trick. She catches her on those running straights, and while she's running, like she did Amanda Nunes, she might catch her off her grappling rhythm. But I think Kayla Harrison has a big chance, as soon as they get into grappling. I mean, she's going to use her judo and take her to the ground and probably get a submission to me.
Yeah. Once we actually preview the fight, we'll give our official predictions. But off of first thought, I'm thinking Kayla is the big favorite in that fight. And like you said, judo is Olympic level. Pena, I mean, she could, like you said, she could catch Harrison like in a buzzsaw, but even with the Nunes fight, she had to submit her, if I'm not mistaken. That fight happened a couple of years ago. I think she dropped her. So I think Pena is more so like a volume. She's not like a one-punch knockout. So I think she's going to have to catch Kayla Harrison off her game, or if Kayla Harrison tries to play her game, tries to stand up, and I think Pena could win too. But if Kayla's smart, she'd go to her bread and butter and try to make it a dirty fight and grapple with her.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the men's, Sean O'Malley hasn't fought since September, and his last fight was that fight where he lost to Merab. So why does he deserve an immediate rematch, even though Merab's fought once since then? He fought Umar Nurmagomedov. So why does Sean O'Malley get a rematch, an immediate rematch on his end?
I think because of popularity, and I would have to look at the top five, but I think Merab possibly beat everybody. If I can,
the top five is Sean O'Malley #1, Petrion at 2, Umar 3, Corey Sandhagen 4, Davison Figueiredo. Even though he's a former flyweight, he's moved up to 5 in the bantamweight. That's the top 5.
Yeah, I would say I think it was timing, because I think Figueiredo, he has some tough fights, but I think it would be a firefight if he reaches the championship contendership. I think it just didn't meet up. If Figueiredo would have won his last fight, maybe the talks would be him fighting in the championship or consideration. But since there's no options out there, and Merab basically beat these guys, or these guys coming up haven't earned a spot, yet because they haven't won a fight yet. I think that was the only option was Sean O'Malley just to get the rematch.
What about like a Corey Sandhagen?
Yeah, and I was trying to think what was his last fight, and did
I
he
mean,
win?
he did lose to Umar, who just lost, but it's been since August. So I'm guessing you can't give him a title fight off of a loss, even though you're giving Sean O'Malley a title shot after a loss.
Yeah, but he's up there already, though. That's probably why. But yeah, I can say that they were both on losing streaks. So like I said, Sean O'Malley might still have that popularity to just say, fuck it, let's do a number two.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of fighters getting immediate rematches after a loss, unless they've been like a long time champion. I think O'Malley may have defended it once. I don't know who did the Davidson Figueiredo last fight. Off the top of my head, I can't think of who he fought last, but
Peter Yan was
he fought Peter Yan. This is back in 2024, so November. So he's coming off a loss. I say I would have rather, because Son Yudong just, even though he just fought, he's coming off a win against Henry Cejudo. I would have liked to see Son Yudong hop over all of them, because we've seen it happen before, and fight Merab, and then have Sean O'Malley in like a title eliminator against either Yan or not Corey Sandhagen, or maybe even Corey Sandhagen, because they're both coming off a loss. Or it's Davidson Figueiredo. He's coming off a loss too. Like, just have him in a title eliminator. That doesn't seem too much to ask for. Just give him one win before you get a title shot.
I think Peter Yan just won his last fight.
Yeah,
that was Figueiredo, right?
Yeah, that was against Figueiredo.
Yeah, so he can be in the talks too. Also, as far as I think, even Peter Yan.
Run it back with you could run that back with him and O'Malley, because a lot of people didn't think O'Malley won that fight anyway.
Yeah, there's a little small history with him. Yeah. I think he's in the lead up to the fight.
So when is UFC just gonna admit that it's all about what's best for the box office, instead of acting like they go by the rankings and they run it like a stick and ball sport as far as ranking goes?
Yeah, I think in certain situations it ends up to be that anyway. Popularity, when you can do it, like you say, ranking sometimes it doesn't make sense, but we see if you have popularity, Dana will shoot you up there or give you Dana White favor.
Exactly. Well, looks like it's already been booked, so there's nothing we can do about it. But I guess it'll get interesting once the fight get closer. You talked about it a little bit earlier about the matchup, but I'm guessing you're thinking that O'Malley could adapt enough to get the rematch. I mean, to win the rematch, because I think you said earlier that you think Merab, his style is not a good matchup for O'Malley.
Yeah, I think what he's faced with anyway, I think he has to take more chances. He is more timid, or create more rhythm to create more openings, because he was just way too timid and let Merab control the fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends. Where are they fighting at, actually? I don't know where that fight is at. I think it's UFC 317. I see. Okay, so it's maybe it's 316, because that's International Fight Week, is UFC 317. This is okay. So this is in Newark, New Jersey. Yeah, so I don't think that's like a overly Merab type of crowd. Not Merab, O'Malley type of crowd. And Merab trains out of New York with Aljamain and those guys. So maybe Merab doesn't have to worry about like any type of bias from the crowd. Sometimes that sways judges. It's too. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, once it gets closer to the fight, we'll break it down some more, and maybe my thoughts on it will change. But early on, I think Morale should be the favorite again. But yeah, let's talk about the fights that went down in Mexico City. UFC had 2 fight nights in a row that happened outside of the Apex, which is a good thing. Hopefully they'll get back that on the regular. Like I said, UFC fight night went down to Mexico City, which was headlined by Moreno and Steve Erceg. Yeah, those Mexican fans are always, enthusiastic when it comes to UFC coming down there. They're very passionate fans. And some fights went down on the preliminary card that were of note because of the finishes. I didn't get a chance to watch them, but I know you said you got to watch some of the finishes on the prelims. Which one stood out to you?
Well, the Jamal Emmers one, that was a good one.
Yeah,
he knocked him out pretty much cold. And this dude, Adaba Gatir from Cameroon. And I didn't even know it until I looked up, right now. I didn't even pay attention to his name while watching the highlight, but I'm like, damn, he reminds me of Francis Ngannou. And turns out I look at his damn nationality, it's from Cameroon. So he getting some more Cameroon talent. And he finished him. If you look at the highlight, I wouldn't say the striking combination he used as far as like Ngannou's debut with I forgot that dude's name. But this fight, he kind of finished him as far as the viciousness of the combos at the end of the fight. He took him out pretty good. So this is a fighter to look out for. And I think that may be in his debut, if I'm not mistaken.
So earlier you're talking about Francis's debut in the UFC?
Yeah.
Against Lewis Henrik. Against Lewis Henrik.
Yeah, Henrik. Yeah, he gave him a nasty uppercut with the last combination. He took him out similar as far as like not the combination, but taking him out with combos. And when you saw his combo selection, you're like, yeesh, throwing him. And knocked him out. So I definitely would say this is a fighter to look for as far as like knockouts and viciousness.
Like you said, he's from Cameroon. I guess they built different over there. I'm looking at him now, like, dude looks like he's carved out of granite.
Oh yeah, he looks like it. And if you like you said, you remember Francis Ngannou when he swings, you like, ooh, I wouldn't get hit by that. He was swinging like that. So
yeah, so he put the middleweight division on notice with that performance. But another note that came from the prelims, Lupe Godinez defeated Juliana Polastri by unanimous decision. But the thing that kind of made the news is in between the second and third round, she told her quarterman, said, "Holy shit, I got to poop." And that kind of went viral online. So if you were in that situation, like if you had to relieve yourself in the middle of the round, what would you do? Just like, say, F it, and just quit?
Man, I thought about that, Stoolgate, Yoel Romero, of course he used his pants.
Oh, wow, he did? I don't even remember that.
I would say he must have did a what do you call them, on Uncharted or something.
Yeah.
He left some imprint back there. What's her name? A female fighter got into some shit. No pun intended. They're rolling around and there's droplets of dookie.
This was in the UFC?
Yeah, female, blonde. Dang, these names are slipping my head.
How long ago was this? This totally slipped off my radar.
Probably about like within the decade.
Pre-COVID or post-COVID?
It was a minute ago. Even before that, I can't remember her name. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, was it Justine Kirsch? Just
I would.
Justine
It
Kish.
may have been her. Who's she fighting with? Because that's what makes me remember.
Justine Kish. She had braids.
Did she say what she was fighting with that fight?
Yeah, it doesn't say who she was fighting.
Oh man, that's crazy. And the name's gonna pop in my
Oh,
head.
Felice Herring.
Felice. Yes, Herring against and there somebody leaked everywhere all over the day.
Yeah, I must have been like just in my zone. I was living in California at the time. This was in 2017. This slipped totally under my radar.
Oh yeah, that was nasty. But I would say if it's that one where it's gonna be everywhere, I would say, Coach, put a towel over and get that bucket. You know what I'm saying? And go back out there. I mean, that's the only remedy, because I can only imagine. And I also wonder, these trainers, do they time or have it down to a science when a fighter gets all that out before he goes out? Because I can only imagine going out there and getting the bubble guts.
Yeah, I don't know how they time that. I feel like all fighters should probably make sure, they get right before they go in the cage. But you never know when nature calls again. Sometimes it just hits you out of nowhere. If I were in that position, I would try my best to hold it in. And some people are on the opposite side of things. They'd be like, if I gotta go, I'll just let it go in there. But I feel so embarrassed if that happened, and smell and all of that. Like, that would probably throw me off my game plan, and I wouldn't even be able to focus like that. I'd be focused more so on holding it in than dodging punches and stuff. I might end up losing by like TKO or something.
I haven't heard that in a while when nature calls.
like the Ace Ventura movie.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's a like I said before, a shitty situation.
I see what you did there. Well, shout out to her for holding it in and not embarrassing herself on national TV. But let's get into this main card. To kick this one off at catchweight at 127, we had Kevin Borjas defeating Ronaldo Rodriguez by unanimous decision. Round one, Borjas was putting it on Rodriguez and cracking him with that right hand, dropped him a couple times. And then in the second round, you could see Borjas' hand speed, and he was cracking Rodriguez with some good hard shots. But Rodriguez had a hell of a chin. I thought he was about to get him out of there. Then that last round, both guys were swinging for the fences, but I think Borjas got the better of Rodriguez. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it was I would say it was a contested fight. Of course, Borjas, he's got the better of the harder strikes as far as like seeing somebody stumble or fall. But Ronaldo kept up there with him, and like I said, it was a good fight. And like the commentators were saying, Rodriguez has a very good chin to stay in there.
For sure. So it should have been at flyweight. Somebody missed weight, but things happen. Moving on to the next fight in the bantamweight division, David Martinez defeated Simon Oliveira TKO. Round one, Martinez looked sharp with his boxing and the leg kicks. And with about 30 seconds in the round, Martinez cracked Oliveira with that right hook, dropped him with the knee, and finished him off with some ground and pound. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, very good fight. Very beautiful counter. He threw a left, I believe, and what do you call that, pull counter, backed up and hit him with a right, stunned him. Like you said, hit him with a knee, dropped him. Like I said, it looked like a fight that would go the distance. But like I said, all you need is one. And like you said, he got caught and overextended, and that's all it takes. So that was a good win for Martinez.
Yeah, very good win for Martinez. And moving on to this next fight in the bantamweight division, this kid came into this card with a lot of hype, like he always does. Raul Rosas Jr. defeated Vince Morales by unanimous decision. So in that first round, Rojas started out pretty aggressive. He let his hands go, was pushing forward, and had Morales backpedaling, which enabled to get that early takedown. And Rojas controlled him on the ground and won the grappling exchanges for most of that round. But Morales was able to reverse it with about 30 seconds left to close that round out. And then moving on to the second round, Rojas got Morales down with a little less than 3 minutes left, and then rode Morales for the remainder of the round. And then moving on to that third round, Morales kind of went into desperation mode and went for that anaconda choke, and it was pretty tight. Rojas got out of it and went into side control and won the better of the scrambles on the ground. Besides that, one last submission attempt by Morales with about 10 seconds left. But Rojas was able to get that comfortable win. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Raw has a good fight. It looked like he can stay up there with veterans, as he showed, this fight right here. But I can see if he goes up in the rankings, he's liable to get caught because, as we've seen, he got caught in that anaconda, and twice in the same round. All it takes is one slip up, and I think if it was somebody else who was a little bit stronger, had more technique, he would have been out of there, and that would have been 2 losses. So it was a good win. Amazing stamina. I think, don't break something, don't fix something if it's not broken. But I think he can work on his stand up a little bit, make some intimidation. So, you can work your striking with your takedowns to get where you want to. But I think he definitely needs more experience to get up in that upper echelon of the rankings. Definitely.
So, like I said, Rosas is like one of those social media kids because, he's born in 2004, so he came up in that generation. So he's got the Chihuahua thing going on. So he was on the Contender Series way back when he was 18, and that was in 2022. When is his birthday? He's not gonna be 21 until October. Wow, so he was 17 on that. That's crazy that he must have got some waivers signed. Oh, never mind. Yeah, he was still 17 because I vaguely remember that because I was watching that because of the hype behind it. So I'm guessing he had to get waivers signed to even be on the Contender Series back then. And if you like a grown man losing to a teenager, you got to kind of feel bad about that. But sometimes, talent just wins at the end of the day. But yeah, so Contender's fight doesn't go against your UFC record. How many fights has he had in the UFC? And I'm looking at it.
4 or 5.
This is 6. Wow, he's already stacked up 6 UFC fights. And he's young, so when you're young, you can fight a lot more often. So in his 6 UFC fights, he is 5-1. So, and looking at his UFC wins, 3 of them have been finishes. So it's not like he's like a decision machine or anything. And now some of these fighters that he's fighting lately have actually had Wikipedia pages. So what do you think is next for him as far as competition?
I would say, I would say get somebody that's a name that's not ranked, but if they are, give somebody the top 15, maybe the top 5 of the upper 10, 15, 14, to test his skills, because I think he's skilled enough, and I think to measure how good he is, I think we need one good name that he can compete with.
You don't think it might be a little bit too soon to throw top 15 at him?
Yeah, like you said, he is young. But then again, Yeah, I would say he doesn't have to. I could say he could just rack up wins, but you know, seeing that he's almost getting caught. Yeah, I would say sit back. It's too early because he almost got caught a few times this last fight. So I would say that would be the better idea for him. Keep on getting competition out there that's your level until start scraping that top 15.
So, off the top of your head, are there any unranked bantamweights that you could think of that they may be able to match him up with?
Man, that's hard to. Well, I would say to get a name, this might be a good one for him. Depending if he's on his way out anyway, or Cody Garbrandt.
Ooh,
He's not even ranked no more, I don't believe.
I would have to look. My computer's being a little wonky right now. I had the rankings up, but I don't know if Cody Garbrandt is ranked at this moment. Actually, I do have it up in front of me. Nope, he's not. You're right, he's not ranked right now. That'd be definitely be interesting.
Yep. Big enough name that's that far back in the ranks. I mean, you don't get that too often.
How about, well, never mind. I was about to say, is Jose Aldo still ranked? He still is. He's number 11. That would be interesting. But I think that's a little bit too high of a competition. Even an old Jose Aldo, I think, was a little bit too high of competition. How about like a Tim Elliott?
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. Yeah, Timothy Elliott.
And let me see a couple other names that definitely not a Rob Font. Rob Font still ranked. How about like a Ricky Simone?
Yeah, that'd be a good test. Wrestler against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And somebody that got some knockout power.
And this is, of course, if none of these fighters have fights lined up yet, because you know how fast the MMA world moves. One day a fighter will be scheduled for a fight, another day they won't, and vice versa. So, yeah, I think a lot of those names that we name would be a good step up in competition without throwing them to the wolves of a top 15 opponent. So, kid has a lot of upside. What do you think that he might need to improve to take his game to the next level?
I mean, he's already as good as he is. Grappling, although I think he needs to seal up a couple holes. Like I said, again, he got caught a few times, and somebody that's more skilled and a little bit stronger, they would seal that anaconda in. And I think Darce, he had it a few times, and he'll get caught. He already got caught in once earlier in his career. So that's what he does, and have a little bit of striking skills, because that expands his options for him, I think. Like I said, he has some basic striking, but even Brian Ortega developed some nice boxing to threaten these guys on the feet.
Yeah, so yeah. When you're that young, I feel like you could soak up like the knowledge of MMA and you don't get stuck in your ways. So I think whatever kind of coaching that he implements in his game, I think he'll be able to learn quickly and improve. So we'll see what happens with Rosas as far as his next fight goes, and see if he's able to keep up in his game. But moving on to the next fight in the flyweight division, we had Edgar Chairez defeating CJ Vergara, submission, face crank. So 2 minutes in, Chairez cracked Vergara with that left hook and followed with a few more strikes, and then got on his back and got the face crank. Pretty quick fight. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I think he even stuck him before the initial one that dazed him before the submission. It was basically a controlled fight, nothing too outstanding before the action happened, but as far as the action when it did, Cherez uh, went in and, like you said, got that right hand, got him dizzy, and got him by face crank. Uh, I'm trying to remember what, because I had a. But anyways, that's my opinion on that. Like I said, Vergara looks like he couldn't display his skills, that fight, because it pretty much was dominated, and he got stunned. So that's what she wrote.
Yeah, and I think, was this a fight? Wasn't Chavez, wasn't he really emotional? Is this the one where they said granddad played for the surgery, or was that the second fight?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
He said that post fight interview.
Yeah, so yeah, it was Chavez. Yeah, he dedicated to his grandfather paid for his surgery. Yeah, very emotional moment. So anybody has a chance to go back and watch that, I recommend it. But moving on. So Manuel Torres and Drew Dober was the co-main event. There's a fight that got canceled. I wasn't sure if it was originally supposed to be the co-main event or it was supposed to be second to last fight, but it's supposed to be Kevin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. And that fight got canceled due to Joe Pyfer's got sick and he crashed out on social media afterwards, and it's been getting a lot of backlash. I don't know if you saw this. He said, talking about the country of Mexico, he said, "Fuck that country. I will never fight there again. Shithole. Not coming back. Don't care if that's offensive to you. You're not the one fighting." And then he had some backlash from definitely a lot of fans on the internet saying that he's unlikable, that he making up excuses and they should make him fight in Colorado next. What are your thoughts on this crash out?
Man, a way to take away a percentage of fans potentially that could like you. I don't know what happened to him in Mexico. I don't know, or what does he have against the people? I don't know. It seems like he had an altercation last time he fought at Mexico. I think he's to his opinion, but we'll just have to wait till he comes out with an interview to tell us what was the reason. Was it boos from the crowd? Because I think, like you said, you guys didn't have to fight there, so it seems like he fought in Mexico before.
So, what do you think about the strategy of some of these fighters, like as far as out of the cage? I feel like he's taking a page out of the Kobe Covington playbook with when Kobe went to Brazil and basically called their country a shithole as well. What do you think? Is this like good marketing, or you think you're isolating like a whole country and a whole fan base, or do you think it's better just to placate to that side of the MMA who actually play into stuff like that?
He definitely got controversy eyes on him for saying that, because actually we don't hear nothing about Joe Pyfer until he fights. I mean, I like his style I'm like, oh, Joe Pyfer's fighting on this card. Somebody to look at on the card without it, dozing off. But I guess he introduced himself into controversy. This is the first time I heard about him outside of the cage.
You think this is something that's just going to be ingrained in the world of MMA now, trying to like attack people's nationality and countries just to kind of get the eyes on you? Or you think this is just like a trend that'll eventually go away maybe in 4 years or so.
Maybe. I mean, I'll have to take a particular character. I think they're just borrowing a card from boxing. That's always been in boxing, and since I guess all combat sports are cousins of each other. I guess that carried over into MMA a little bit, especially because of Dana is a boxing guy, and the head of an MMA corporation. I guess he admits that because in past controversies, he's said people can say what they want.
Yeah, unless you're Miguel Torres, then you get fired.
Yeah, yeah. As long as don't get in the way of Dana's partners or saying something about him, that's when it's off limits.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's whack. Just attacking like just a whole country in its entirety. Like if you're gonna go after something, go after this individual or something like that. That's that's what we know for in boxing. I never remember Floyd attacking a whole country like that. I know he maybe was kind of paying heritage. He might have been doing it in jest where he came with the Mexican hat. I feel like he was paying more tribute to it than like shitting on the country. I can't remember who he's fighting. Maybe Victor Cruz or Victor Ortiz.
Yeah. I would say it was more personal disrespect and what Floyd was doing then to a whole country, because it's almost like he put on his nation's flag's pants, representing his country. So it's like kind of mixture of advertising going on as far as a play on nations. Like, I represent your country better than you, as a condescending joke, I guess.
Yeah, I guess like if you're a fighter, you don't gotta really worry about too many fans going after you because you're a fighter, you fuck them up. But I feel like it's kind of a stressful life having to watch out for fans from certain countries. I feel like if you just embrace every country and don't isolate countries like that, is you just always gonna be combating with people online if you go that route. And I guess some people embrace like the combativeness online and things of that nature, but I feel like that's too stressful for me. I want to just be cool with everybody unless you got something personally against me, then we could go back and forth. But going back and forth against like a wave of people like that, it seems super stressful. But
one situation, like you said, Kobe called out Brazilians. Just having that animosity on you, because what happened to him is Werdum threw a boomerang at him because of that. So what about if you just walking in the street and people's a person's an MMA fighter and you got a Mexican sees him and wants to fight him? I mean,
like I said, he probably fuck him up, but people are crazy nowadays. People stay strapped up. People tote that thing on them nowadays.
Or knife shit.
Yeah, that's a stressful life to live. And Kobe didn't like you said about the boomerang, but didn't like Wanderlei or somebody random go after him too? I want to say a random older Brazilian fighter went after him too. I know you said Verdum, but I could have swore it was like a Wanderlei Silva. No, Wanderlei and Chael went back and forth. But maybe I'm just making things up. But I know a lot of other Brazilian fighters were mad at him and called him a clown for it. So, like I said, I go that route. I know it gets you clicks and likes, but at the end of the day, your skills are going to diminish, and then those same people are going to still remember what you said. So if you're out of the limelight, you still got to deal with that mess. So I think it's lame, but it is what it is. Let's move on to this co-main event, though. In the lightweight division, we had Manuel Torres defeating Drew Dober by TKO. So Torres just looked like the bigger fighter in this one, to be honest. Torres sat him down with that straight right and followed up with like 15 to 20 unanswered shots and got Drew Dober out of the paint. What were your thoughts about this one?
It looked like Drew Dober couldn't do nothing, couldn't get nothing off. Looked like he was neutralized the whole time. What's his name? Drew Dober.
Torres
looked like he was controlling the fight, checking him the whole time. cheap kicks that looked strong that stiffened him up and say, "Oh, I didn't like that," and he had to reset. I think when he felt his strength and how stern he was, like you said, he was the bigger fighter. I think inside Dober, had to recalibrate adjustment to get at him, and while doing that, he was just downloading, getting closer and closer with his, I would say, his left-right combination, and that's what got him. And hit him with those hammer fists to where it seemed like his body was there, but his head wasn't, because when he pulled him off, he had a pretty good grip on his foot. But obviously, if he would have got up, and it was a good call because he wasn't responding. But if he would have got up and he wasn't daisy, I would have said it was maybe a bad call based off of circumstances. He didn't move, but he didn't know the fight was over, so he was knocked out while his body was still moving, basically. So it was a good knockout by Torres. And that's another thing. I've been seeing a lot more knockouts while people sitting there in a grappling compromised position, whether it's an elbow or hammer fist. I don't know why these dudes stay there. I mean, it looks like on the couch like it doesn't hurt, but these dudes need to get out of there. If they got a single leg and elbows, one that comes in my head, Ryan, no, not Ryan, as a Superman.
Ryan Spann?
Man, yeah, that happened with him. I'm like, and that's happening a lot frequently, so I don't know. These fighters need to look into that.
I think it's instinct. Like, they just have the instinct to hold on and maybe try to get in the ground. Like you said, they're just getting pounded.
Yeah.
But
continuously he got pounded. I'm like, damn. And then you should know, like, you have a few seconds, because I mean, even if they didn't hurt, you just can't stay there. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, maybe desperate and everything was silenced outside of his head.
Definitely, I thought it was a good stoppage too, because he wasn't answering back to those strikes. But looking at Drober's record, he lost his last 3 fights. 2 of his last fights been stopped. One was a doctor stoppage. So, all doctor stoppages aren't built alike. So I'd have to go back and see how bad that one was. But he hasn't gotten cleanly knocked out. But 3 losses in a row usually says it's coming to the end, and it pains me to say that because he's my age, and when I start to see fighters my age start to lose it or come to retirement, it makes me think of my mortality a little bit. Like, dang, man. I remember a lot of these fighters were young bucks, and now you're starting to see him retire. So you think this is it for Drew Dober?
It might be. He was on his way. He had a little bit of a 3-win streak. But ever since then, I mean, he ain't did nothing. Maybe had a 1 loss. He lost against Maciano. I would say 1 more loss. I mean, because he was getting promoted for a second, from what I remember, and then he's had these losses, and I would say 1 more would do it for him.
Yeah, 1 more definitely. Probably, seal his fate. But he's always a good guy. You could put on these fight night cards and kick off the pay-per-view. So, like you said, I think he'll get 1 more fight. And if not, then I don't know if he retired necessarily. You still got the GFL and what's left over at the PFL. I could definitely see him being the type of guy that tries to do that. But no. I didn't see any retirement news on his end, so we'll have to see what happens with him next. But let's move on to the main event of the card. In the flyweight division, we had Brandon Moreno fighting in front of his country people, defeating Steve Erceg by unanimous decision. So I think in that first round, Moreno did a good job of mixing up the boxing and the leg kicks. He caught Erceg with a good uppercut and a right-hand combo. Moreno's right hand was finding the mark early on, and then moving on to the second round. Both guys had some good shots in, but I think Moreno had the higher output. In round 3, Erceg's defense was kicking in, and Moreno was missing a lot more. Erceg was able to counter. I feel like that round, Erceg was moving forward a little bit better, even though the unofficial numbers show that Moreno was more accurate, but I think that was Erceg's best round. And then in the 4th round, Moreno landed a couple of shots, but Erceg did a good defensive job of avoiding the big shots. He had a little bit more offensive output, but I thought Moreno had run around based on aggression. But in the 5th round, I thought Moreno was aggressive early on, but slowed down as the round progressed. And then Erceg was working that jab. Erceg's jab looked pretty good the whole fight. It just wasn't, like I said, the output that I would have liked to seen. And Erceg fell while throwing that leg kick with about a minute left and attempted a triangle, but Moreno defended well, then ended the round up on top. And Moreno was able to get the unanimous decision. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it was a contested fight. Nothing too overweighing. But definitely I thought Moreno was the more aggressor striker versus Erceg. Nothing was too much coming after the jab he was throwing. But Moreno, he would throw a sneaky little straight here and there, and there were heavy straights, heavy shots, overhands here and there. It just had a better shot selection over Steve Erceg's shot input. And plus, ending the fight on top of the person. I think it just looked better in Moreno's. And if I'm not mistaken, I would say Moreno mostly. I would say hold his ground. Steve Erceg, he did step up a couple times, but Moreno would check that with the heavier strikes, I would think. So I think that's what won Moreno the fight.
Yeah, like I said earlier, and like you said, the aggression. Erceg was a little bit too timid in some of those rounds, and was trying to be more of a counter striker instead of moving forward. Even though I feel like he's the longer fighter. Actually, I think maybe Moreno. I can't remember who had the longer reach. Actually, so I don't want to put any false information out there. But he's a taller fighter, so I don't know. Maybe he's trying to use his length to his advantage, and it didn't work out like he wanted it to. But speaking of Moreno, like I said, he's fighting in front of his country. Was able to get the win, and he is kind of in a weird spot because he's already fought Pantoja 3 times technically. He fought him in an exhibition on the UFC Ultimate Fighter, and then he lost to him twice in the UFC. So you think he could maybe vie for a title shot next?
I think most likely not, just because he fought 3 times. He'll probably sit and wait to see maybe what happens or fight somebody coming up just to stay active. But a 4th one, I don't think he even wants to do that.
You don't think you want? Like I said, technically, he's only been twice. He's only fought him twice.
Yeah.
So you said you don't think Moreno would want to fight him again?
I would think he would rather. I'm speaking for him, but I would say he would rather wait just to see another option.
I think he's one of those fighters that just fights off a heart. I think he feels like he could beat Pantoja, even though that might not be the outcome. But looking back at some of his wins, he got a win with Erceg, he got Amir Albazi, so that's 2 in a row. He lost to Roval. Didn't Roval just lose recently? If I'm not mistaken,
he wasn't.
He won his last 2. He beat Tatsaru Tara in a fight night back in October. Of course, I'm not gonna remember a random fight like that, especially if it's in the Apex. But so Royval's coming off a win, but he just beat Moreno last year. I don't know. They're 1-1 though, so maybe why not do the rubber match in that one?
Yeah, that would be a possible.
Also, is Royval scheduled for a fight soon? Because he's supposed to face Cop. He's supposed to face Mel Cop on that fight night, but he had to pull out. So maybe he doesn't even run that fight back with Cop. And
Randomly pops in my head. Where's Kai France? Where's he at?
what's his ranking?
Yeah.
He is ranked at number 4.
4. And Royval is like 1 or 2, isn't he?
Royval is number 1.
1. Number 2. Who's number 2?
Number 2 is Moreno.
Moreno. Okay. And Erceg, was he 8?
Erceg, he went down a spot. He was 8, now he's 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that can definitely be. You said, damn, Royval and what's his name fought already?
Moreno and Royval?
Yeah.
They fought twice. They're 1-1.
Hey, that wouldn't slip my mind. Yeah, I can say that can go. You said the rubber match, so that they can go that route.
So it looks like Kara France and Pantoja are scheduled to fight. It says that the same card, that New York card, but I don't know. They might move it to a different fight since they got Pena and Morab. But I think that fight is penciled in Kara France and Pantoja. So I'm guessing it probably makes sense. Moreno, Royval for the rubber match, and then the winner faces the winner of Pantoja and Kara France.
I would say, yeah.
And then you got those fighters in the top 5 lingering around, or Amir Albazi and Tatsuro Taira, and Manel Cop is number 6. So it's interesting. Pantoja just may be a level above all of those fighters at the end of the day, because he's already beat, like I said, Moreno twice in the UFC, and he's beaten Royval. He's beaten who else did he recently beat? If I'm blanking for a second. Didn't he beat Albazi? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I swear the internet. So I'll list off all of his recent wins. He beat Matt Schnell. He lost Oskarov, but this was back in 2020. That's the last time he's lost since 2020. And I'm talking about Pantoja. He beat Manel Cop. He beat Royval. He beat Alex Perez. He beat Moreno. He beat Royval. He beat Erceg, and he beat Kai Asakura. I remember that. That was back in December. The fighter coming over from Risen. God damn, he's already defending it 3 times. So yeah, I mean, if Kai France can't beat him, then they might start to pull him from like 5 through 10 and like kind of fast track some of these guys. And I was saying earlier about Tim Elliott fighting Rosas. I didn't know they had Tim Elliott listed in the bantamweight on the page I was looking for, but on here they have him ranked in flyweight. So maybe I'm guessing he dropped weight. So just to go back and clarify that. But yeah, Pantoja might end up cleaning the division after this Kara France, and they either have to do some rematches or pull from lower rankings. So we'll have to see what happens with Moreno next. If he were to fight Kara France, do you think he can make Pantoja? You think he can make the adjustments to maybe finally get over the hump?
Possibly, but then again, Pantoja, he's been on a roll. Of course, he has wear and tear, but his performance looks like he's still, up there in his prime. And I think Moreno had like 2 fights since his layoff.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember he took a timeout. I think Pantoja's on a roll. And I think although he's in his rhythm and he looked good his last fight, I think Pantoja might get him just because of, back-to-back fights and defending.
Yeah. We'll see. It's probably going to be a while before he gets that title rematch. So maybe he takes a fight in between, like we said, or maybe he tries to wait it out and see what happens. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with him next. Like, he fights with a lot of heart and he puts on pretty exciting fights, and which the UFC likes, and he's kind of a fan favorite. So hats off for Moreno for getting the win. But drawing close to the end of the show, we have a UFC fight night that's in the Apex this weekend, which will not be recapping, but we will be back next week to preview UFC 314 going down at Miami in the Casilla Center. I always mess the pronunciation of the name. I remember it being like the American Airlines Arena or something like that back in the day, but they changed the name, different sponsor. But the headline of that is the featherweight title fight for the vacant belt, Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez, in the co-main event. It's Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. How excited are you for this one?
Yeah, it seems like a good card. I think it's going to be hype and excitement, especially Paddy Pimblett. He brings the hype because it seems like, people want him to win, but people also want him to lose. So I think there's going to be eyes on this fight. Plus, it's opening up it's almost like a refreshment of the featherweight division, because you had Ile vacate, and then it's almost like Volkanovski having another chance. It didn't look like he was going to get that chance when Ile's was champion. So, I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, once Ilya Topuria vacated that title, it opened things up. So hopefully he doesn't cast a shadow over the division and they can kind of move forward. And this new champion is not known as like a paper champion, especially if Topuria stays up there at lightweight. So, like I said, we will be back next week to preview that card. We'll have Admire back with us, but that'll bring us to the end of the show. Make sure to follow us on IG and X, Twitter, and make sure to subscribe and like the videos on YouTube as well. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Till next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound. That was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot to leave you in the knot.